My aunt said, "Maybe next year you won't be fat." I replied, "We're done." Then I froze their cards, canceled tuition, forced a 40% buyout, filed eviction, cut autopays, and padded my daughter's fund. And I just smiled because Grandpa's will holds one more surprise. My name is Daniel. I'm 38 years old, and for most of my adult life, I've been the dependable one. The family wallet, the emergency fund, the silent provider who showed up when rent was short, when tuition was due, when someone's car broke down 3 states away. I didn't mind it at first. After my business took off in my late 20s, writing the checks felt good. It felt like I was giving my family the stability I never had growing up. My Aunt Patricia raised me after my parents died when I was 9. She wasn't warm, but she kept a roof over my head. When I made my first million by 32, I figured paying it forward was the right thing to do. So, I paid for my cousin Sarah's college, all 4 years at a private university, plus her study abroad semester in Spain. I co-signed the mortgage on the house Aunt Patricia lives in now, the one with the wraparound porch and the view of the lake. I added them to my credit cards for emergencies that somehow happened every month. I covered Sarah's wedding, her honeymoon, even her husband's business startup cost when his marketing firm needed capital. They never said thank you. Not really. It was always expected, always assumed. I was Daniel, the dependable one, the one who fixed things. My daughter Lily is 12 years old. She has her mother's eyes bright and full of wonder and my stubborn determination. She loves art, baking, and reading fantasy novels under her blankets with a flashlight. She's thoughtful and kind, the type of kid who saves her allowance to buy birthday presents for her friends. She's also heavier than other kids her age. Not by much, just enough that cruel people notice. Kids at school sometimes whisper. I've heard her cry in her room after particularly bad days. But she's healthy. Her pediatrician says she's perfect. I tell her every single day that she's beautiful. Aunt Patricia and Sarah never got the memo. Every family gathering, there were comments, little digs wrapped in concern. Sarah would say things like, "Maybe Lily should skip dessert tonight," with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Aunt Patricia would sigh dramatically and mention how some girls just have slower metabolisms. I bit my tongue. I kept writing checks. I told myself they didn't mean it, that they were just old-fashioned, that confrontation would make things worse. I should have known better. Christmas Eve arrived with fresh snow covering the driveway of Aunt Patricia's house, the house I paid for. Lily and I drove over with homemade cookies and carefully wrapped presents. She was excited. She'd picked out a beautiful scarf for Sarah and a gardening book for Aunt Patricia. She'd wrapped them herself, complete with hand-drawn tags. I remember parking in the driveway, watching her hop out of the car with that backpack full of gifts, her breath making little clouds in the cold air. I remember thinking she looked happy. I had no idea that in less than 2 hours, everything would change. The house smelled like cinnamon and pine. A massive tree dominated the living room, covered in gold ornaments and white lights. Sarah's husband, Derek, was pouring wine. Aunt Patricia sat in her favorite chair like a queen holding court. Sarah's daughter Madison, 14 and rail thin, was texting on her phone. Lily handed out her gifts with shy pride. They were accepted with distracted nods. Then came the exchange. Madison opened her gift first. Inside the elegant box was a thick envelope. Sarah announced it with a flourish. "Madison, sweetie, you're going to Italy this summer. 2 weeks in Rome, Florence, and Venice, all expenses paid." Madison squealed. She jumped up and hugged her mother, then her grandmother. The room filled with excited chatter about the Colosseum, about gelato, about fashion in Milan. Then Aunt Patricia turned to Lily. "Lily, dear, here's yours." She handed over a small gift bag. Lily reached inside and pulled out a glossy brochure. Her smile started to fade as she read it. A gym membership. 12 months prepaid at Peak Fitness downtown. There was a note card attached. Lily's hands trembled as she opened it. I watched her face change, the light in her eyes dimmed. Her cheeks flushed red. I stood up. "What does it say?" Lily's voice was barely a whisper. Maybe next year you won't be the fat one in the photos. The room went silent. Then Sarah laughed. A bright, careless sound. Oh, come on. And it's just motivation. Lily, you'll thank us later. We're trying to help. Aunt Patricia nodded. Sarah's right. Sometimes young girls need a little push. It's for your own good, sweetheart. Lily's eyes filled with tears. She clutched the note card, staring at it like she couldn't believe the words were real. Her bottom lip quivered. She looked at me and I saw something break inside her. I felt rage, pure cold rage, but I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I didn't make a scene. Instead, I knelt down beside Lily. I took the note card from her shaking hands and put it in my pocket. I kissed her forehead slow and deliberate like a promise. We're leaving, I said quietly. Sarah rolled her eyes. Oh, don't be so dramatic, Daniel. We're just trying to help her. I ignored her. I helped Lily into her coat, zipped it up carefully, and guided her toward the door. She didn't say a word. She just let me lead her out into the snow. Behind me, I heard Aunt Patricia call out, "You're overreacting." I didn't turn around. In the car, Lily started to cry. Quiet, heartbroken sobs. I pulled her close and let her bury her face in my shoulder. I stroked her hair and whispered that she was perfect, that she was beautiful, that I loved her more than anything in the world. And inside, I made a decision. They wanted to play games with my daughter. Fine. Let's see how they like the game. When I held all the cards that night, after I tucked Lily into bed, I sat alone in my home office. The house was quiet. Outside, snow continued to fall, covering the world in white. I didn't cry. I didn't punch walls. I just sat there staring at the note card I'd taken from Lily. Maybe next year you won't be the fat one in the photos. 12 words. 12 words that destroyed my daughter's Christmas. 12 words that told me exactly where I stood in this family. I thought about all the years I'd spent trying to be enough, trying to earn their respect, their gratitude, their love. I thought about every check I'd written, every emergency I'd solved, every time I'd shown up when they called. And I thought about Lily's face when she read that note. I pulled out my laptop and started going through files, bank statements, property deeds, account access logs, spreadsheets tracking every dollar I'd ever sent their way. The numbers were staggering. Over the past decade, I'd given Aunt Patricia and Sarah close to $800,000. College tuition, the house down payment, monthly allowances that somehow became permanent. Sarah's wedding cost me $60,000. Her husband's business startup took another $100,000. The cars, the vacations, the credit cards they used like free money. I'd funded their entire lives and they repaid me by humiliating my daughter on Christmas Eve. I opened my contacts and started making calls. First to my bank, then to my lawyer, then to my accountant. It was late, but these were people who worked for me, who understood that when I called, it mattered. By midnight, I had a plan. By morning, I would execute it. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my office methodically working through each account, each connection, each thread that tied me to them. I thought about Lily, asleep upstairs, her Christmas ruined by people who should have protected her. I thought about the promise I'd made when I kissed her forehead. Never again. The first call I made on Christmas morning was to the university. "This is Daniel Morrison. I need to cancel a tuition payment." The administrator sounded confused. "Sir, it's Christmas. Our offices are closed, I understand. This is urgent. Madison Cooper's spring semester tuition is paid through an account I control. I'm withdrawing my financial support effective immediately." There was a pause. "I see. We'll need that in writing. You'll have it within the hour." I hung up and drafted the email. Cold, professional, final. Next, I called my credit card company. "I need to freeze all authorized users on my accounts." The representative pulled up my file. That would be Patricia Morrison and Sarah Cooper. Correct. Remove their access immediately. I'd also like to dispute the last 6 months of charges as unauthorized. Sir, if they were authorized users, they were. They're not anymore. Freeze the accounts. Send me the documentation for disputes. I'll handle the rest with my lawyer. I could hear her typing. Done. Is there anything else? Yes. Send me a full transaction history for the past year. Right away, Mr. Morrison. I hung up and opened my property management files. The house Aunt Patricia lived in was in my name. I'd co-signed the mortgage, yes, but the deed was mine. She'd never bothered to refinance. She'd never paid a single mortgage payment herself. It was just another thing I'd taken care of, another bill I'd quietly paid. I drafted an email to my lawyer. Need to initiate eviction proceedings. 60-day notice. Legal grounds. Non-payment and breach of informal rental agreement. Property located at 428 Lakeview Drive. Tenant Patricia Morrison. I attached the property deed and the mortgage payment history. Send. Then I opened the spreadsheet tracking Sarah's husband's business. I'd invested $120,000 as a silent partner. The paperwork said I owned 40% equity. I'd never asked for a return, never pushed for dividends. I just let it sit there. Another gift I'd given and forgotten about. I sent an email to Derek's business partner, copying my lawyer. I'm exercising my right to liquidate my equity position in Cooper Marketing LLC. Per our operating agreement, I'm requesting immediate buyout or forced sale. Please respond within 48 hours. I leaned back in my chair. My phone started ringing. It was Sarah. I didn't answer. She called again. Then Aunt Patricia called. Then Derek. I let them all go to voicemail. I opened my laptop and started going through Autopay settings. Aunt Patricia's car insurance, Sarah's gym membership, Madison's phone plan, streaming services, cloud storage, every single subscription and bill that flowed through my accounts. I canceled them all one by one. Click, click, click. The silence in my office felt powerful. It took 3 days for them to realize what was happening. The first sign came when Sarah's credit card declined at a restaurant. She called me 7 times in a row. I didn't answer. Then, Aunt Patricia tried to pay for groceries and discovered her card was frozen. She left a voicemail, her voice tight with confusion. "Daniel, there's something wrong with the card. Call me back." I deleted it without listening to the whole message. On the 3rd day, Derek got the letter from my lawyer about the equity buyout. He called angry now, demanding to know what I was doing. I let that one go to voicemail too. On the 4th day, Aunt Patricia received the eviction notice. That's when they showed up at my house. I was making breakfast with Lily when the doorbell rang. She looked at me nervously. She'd been quiet since Christmas, spending most of her time in her room. I'd taken the week off work to be with her to make sure she knew she was loved. I opened the door. Aunt Patricia stood on my porch, the eviction notice clutched in her hand. Sarah was behind her, arms crossed, furious. Derek lingered by the car on his phone. "What the hell is this?" Aunt Patricia demanded, shaking the paper. I looked at her calmly. "Exactly what it says. You have 60 days to vacate the property." Her face went red. "You can't just kick me out of my house. It's not your house. It's mine. Check the deed." Sarah stepped forward. "Daniel, this is insane. You're overreacting about Christmas. We were trying to help Lily." I felt that cold rage again. Help her. You humiliated her. You gave her a gym membership with a note calling her fat while her cousin got a trip to Italy. Sarah rolled her eyes. "Oh, come on. She's being dramatic. It was a joke. It wasn't funny." Aunt Patricia tried a different approach. "Daniel, I raised you. You owe me." I laughed. Actually laughed. "I owe you. I've given you $800,000 over the past 10 years. I paid for your house, your car, your lifestyle, and you repaid me by destroying my daughter's Christmas. We're family," Sarah said, her voice rising. "You can't just cut us off. Watch me." Derek walked up then, his phone still in his hand. "My lawyer says you can't force a buyout without cause. Read the operating agreement," I said coldly. Section 7, subsection 3. Any partner can request liquidation with 30 days notice. I'm being generous by giving you 48 hours to respond. His face went pale. Aunt Patricia was shaking. "Now, where am I supposed to go?" "I don't know. Figure it out. You have 60 days. You're destroying this family," Sarah shouted. I looked at her for a long moment. "No, you did that on Christmas Eve." I closed the door. The next 2 weeks were chaos. Sarah called every day, leaving increasingly desperate voicemails. First angry, then pleading, then trying guilt. "You're really going to let your aunt become homeless? Over a Christmas gift? Delete." Madison is crying every night because her tuition is canceled. She might have to drop out. Delete. Derek's business is going to collapse without your investment. You're ruining people's lives. Delete. Aunt Patricia sent a letter handwritten, 3 pages long. It started with accusations, moved to guilt, and ended with barely concealed threats about telling the rest of the family what a monster I was. I put it in a folder with all the financial records, evidence if I ever needed it. My lawyer called with updates. The university had confirmed Madison's tuition was canceled. She'd have to reapply for financial aid or find another source of funding. Her spring semester was in jeopardy. The credit card company had processed my disputes. Sarah and Aunt Patricia owed $38,000 in charges I had flagged as unauthorized. The company had sent them collections notices. Derek's business partner had responded to the buyout demand. He was scrambling to find investors trying to raise the cash to buy me out. My lawyer estimated they had maybe 2 weeks before they'd be forced into bankruptcy proceedings. The eviction was proceeding on schedule. Aunt Patricia had 60 days. Then the sheriff would remove her if necessary. Everything was falling apart for them, and I felt nothing. No guilt, no second thoughts, just cold satisfaction. Lily asked me one afternoon, "Are they mad at us?" We were in the kitchen. She was helping me make dinner, her favorite task. She looked worried. I knelt down so we were eye level. "They're mad at me, not you. None of this is your fault." "But Grandma, Patricia, and Sarah, they hurt you," I said firmly. "What they did was cruel, and I will never let anyone hurt you like that again." She hugged me tight. "I love you, Dad." "I love you too, sweetheart." That night I got an email from someone I didn't expect. "Madison, Mr. Morrison, I know you're mad at my mom and grandma, I get it, but I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't write that note. I didn't know about it until after. Please don't punish me for their mistakes. I need that tuition. Please." I stared at the email for a long time. Part of me felt bad for Madison. She was just a kid caught in the crossfire, but another part of me remembered that she'd laughed along with her mother. She'd accepted that trip to Italy without a second thought while Lily stood there holding a gym membership and a note that called her fat. I didn't respond. She sent another email the next day, then another. By the end of the week, she'd sent 7. I ignored them all. 3 weeks after Christmas, Derek's business collapsed. He couldn't raise the money to buy me out. His other investors got nervous and pulled their funding. Within days, Cooper Marketing LLC filed for bankruptcy. Derek's reputation in the industry was destroyed. Sarah called me sobbing, begging me to reconsider. I hung up. Aunt Patricia's eviction moved forward. She tried to delay it with a legal challenge, claiming I'd misrepresented our agreement. My lawyer buried her in paperwork. Every mortgage payment I'd made. Every email where she'd thanked me for helping out. Every text where she'd casually mentioned needing money for repairs, for bills, for life. She had no case. The sheriff scheduled the eviction for February 15th. Sarah's credit cards went to collections. She couldn't pay the disputed charges. Her credit score tanked. She tried to refinance her car and the bank denied her. She and Derek started fighting loud arguments that Madison texted me about, begging me to fix everything. I blocked Madison's number. I learned through mutual acquaintances that Sarah and Derek were looking at renting a small apartment. Aunt Patricia was moving in with them. 3 people in a 2-bedroom place, a massive downgrade from the lakeside house I'd provided. I felt no sympathy. Then on February 10th, something unexpected happened. Lily came home from school and handed me a letter. It was from Madison's private school. They were hosting a family art show and Madison had submitted a piece about family. The letter invited us to attend. "You want to go?" I asked Lily. She shook her head. "No, but Madison called me at school today." I tensed. "What did she say?" She apologized. She said she was sorry about Christmas. She said she didn't know it would hurt me so much. Lily looked down. She was crying. I felt conflicted. "Do you believe her?" Lily shrugged. "I don't know. Maybe, but I don't think I'm ready to see them yet. Then we won't go." On February 15th, Aunt Patricia was evicted. My lawyer sent me the sheriff's report. She left voluntarily at the last moment, taking only what she could fit in a moving truck. The house was now empty, legally mine again. I listed it for sale the next day. Market value $850,000. I'd clear about $600,000 after the mortgage payoff. I donated half of it to a children's charity that focused on body positivity and mental health. The other half went into Lily's college fund. That evening, I got a final call from Sarah. "Are you happy now?" She spat. "You've destroyed us." Mom's living in a tiny apartment. Derek's company is bankrupt. Madison had to transfer schools because we can't afford tuition. All because you couldn't take a joke. I stayed calm. "It wasn't a joke, Sarah. It was cruelty. And you thought I'd just keep paying your bills while you treated my daughter like garbage. We're family." "No," I said quietly. "We were family. You made your choice on Christmas Eve." I hung up and blocked her number. 6 months later, Lily and I stood in our new house. We'd moved out of the city to a quieter neighborhood. The house had a big backyard, a reading nook with windows overlooking a garden, and a studio where Lily could paint and create art. She'd started therapy after Christmas. It helped. She was smiling more, laughing again. She joined an art club at her new school and made 2 close friends who loved her exactly as she was. She never asked about Aunt Patricia or Sarah. I think she understood in the way kids sometimes do that some people weren't meant to be in our lives. I never heard from them again after I blocked their numbers. I heard through distant relatives that Aunt Patricia blamed me for abandoning family. That Sarah told everyone I'd stolen from them, that they painted themselves as victims. I didn't care. Let them tell their story. I had the receipts. I had the truth. And more importantly, I had my daughter. One evening, Lily and I were making dinner together. She was telling me about her day, about a painting she was working on, about a book she was reading. She was happy. Genuinely, beautifully happy. "Dad," she said suddenly. "Yeah, sweetheart. Thank you for what? For believing me, for protecting me." She looked at me with those bright eyes. Some of my friends at school, when bad stuff happens, their parents don't believe them. But you did. You always do. I hugged her tight. "Always, Lily. Always." That night after she went to bed, I sat on the back porch with a cup of coffee. The stars were out bright and clear. The air was cool and calm. I thought about that Christmas Eve, about the note, about Lily's face when she read it. I thought about the promise I'd made when I kissed her forehead. Never again I'd kept that promise. I'd burned bridges, destroyed relationships, cut off people I'd supported for years. Some would say I overreacted. Some would say I was cruel, but none of them had seen Lily cry that night. None of them had felt what I felt when my daughter looked at me with broken trust in her eyes, wondering if maybe, just maybe, they were right about her. No, I didn't overreact. I'd simply shown them the same mercy they'd shown my daughter. None. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat.